Most of you aren't actually ambitious. You're just terrified of being insignificant. You've been tricked into a simulation where you trade your limited life force for digital digits, believing that one day you'll buy enough security to finally stop feeling like a fraud. You aren't building an empire. You're just a well-paid slave to an architecture of scarcity that convinced you that your bank account is your only personality trait. But here's the reality check that's going to glitch your ego. If you lost every cent tomorrow, would there be anything left of you that people actually respect? Or are you just a walking wallet that the tribe tolerates because you're paying for the round? Be honest in the comments. Are you chasing wealth because you want freedom? Or are you just trying to buy a louder voice because nobody listens to you when you're broke? When we talk about the psychology of people who are obsessed with money, the tribe usually defaults to labels like greedy or ambitious. But in the Council of Truth, we look at the software underneath. Money isn't just paper or digital bits. For the obsessed mind, money is the ultimate save point. It is a psychological buffer against a world that feels inherently volatile and unpredictable. If you grew up in a house where the floorboards felt like they could give way at any moment, whether that was through actual poverty or just emotional instability, your brain learned to equate liquid assets with oxygen. This creates what we call the scarcity glitch. Even when the bank account hits 7 figures, the internal software is still running a program from 1998 that says you're one bad month away from total structural collapse. You aren't hoarding wealth, you're hoarding safety. But because safety is an internal state and money is an external metric, the two never actually sync up. You're trying to solve an emotional equation with a mathematical tool, and that's why the number is never high enough. There are 3 primary money blueprints that drive this obsession. The first is the provider-protector script. For these people, money is the only language they know for love. They don't know how to give presents, so they give presents. They don't know how to offer emotional security, so they build a fortress of financial security. If they aren't the highest earner in the room, they feel like their identity file has been corrupted. They are terrified that if the money disappears, their value as a human being evaporates with it. To them, a market crash isn't just a financial event, it's an existential execution. They carry the weight of entire lineages on their shoulders, but they do it in a way that creates a wall between them and the people they are trying to protect. They are providing the resources for a life they never actually have the time to join. Then you have the status seeker. This isn't about safety. It's about signaling. In the human simulation, we are hardwired to care about our rank in the tribe. For the status seeker, money is the tool used to force the tribe to acknowledge their sovereignty. Every luxury purchase is a patch they're installing to overwrite a deep-seated feeling of insignificance. They don't buy the car because they like the engine. They buy it because of the way the reflection looks in the eyes of the people they despise. It's a performance that never ends because there's always someone with a newer version of the software. They are trapped in a loop of comparison where winning is defined by being slightly more comfortable than the person next to them, even if both of them are miserable. Finally, there's the freedom avoider. This is the person who claims they want money so they can finally do what they want, but they never actually stop working. Why? Because the hunt is the only thing that distracts them from the void. If they actually hit their target and stopped, they'd have to sit in the silence and realize they don't know who they are without the struggle. The obsession with the next million is actually a defensive maneuver to avoid hitting save on their actual life. They use productivity as a drug to numb the realization that they have no internal world. They are masters of the how, but they have completely forgotten the why. The real danger of the money-obsessed mind is hedonic adaptation. Your brain is designed to return to a baseline level of happiness, no matter what happens. When you get the raise, the dopamine spike is beautiful, but within 3 months, that new salary is just the new zero. You're on a treadmill where the speed keeps increasing, but the scenery never changes. You're working harder to maintain a level of normal that used to be your dream, and you don't even realize you're exhausted. This is a physiological trap. Your prefrontal cortex is being hijacked by a limbic system that doesn't understand the concept of enough. It only understands more. We have to talk about the disposal of relationships in this simulation. When you are obsessed with the metric, people stop being humans and start being assets or liabilities. You start calculating the ROI of a friendship. You stop going to dinner to connect and start going to dinner to network. This is how you end up in a high-rise penthouse, surrounded by expensive things, but feeling like a ghost. You've optimized your life for resource acquisition, but neglected the connection protocol, and the human brain cannot survive on numbers alone. You become a high-value individual on paper, but a low-value individual in reality, because you have no genuine empathy left. You've traded your humanity for a seat at a table where everyone else is doing the exact same thing. If you're watching this and you feel that constant, low-grade hum of financial anxiety, even when you're doing well, it's time to look at your legacy software. Did you watch your parents fight over a checkbook? Did you feel the shame of being the kid with the wrong shoes? That trauma is still driving the bus. You're trying to buy a version of the past where you weren't afraid, but that version doesn't exist. You can't spend your way out of a memory. You are trying to fill an emotional hole with physical material, which is like trying to put out a fire with gasoline. The more you pour on, the bigger the problem becomes. You have to go back into the code of your childhood and realize that the threat is over. You survived. You don't need to keep building the bunker. Sovereignty begins when you decouple your human value from your net worth. It sounds like a cliche the tribe tells you to keep you complacent, but it's actually a mechanical necessity for a functional mind. If your peace of mind is dependent on a fluctuating market, you aren't an owner. You're a tenant of your own anxiety. You need to learn how to hit save on your current reality. You need to define enough before the simulation defines it for you. If you don't have a stopping point, you aren't playing a game, you're caught in a glitch. The most successful people in the council aren't the ones with the most digits in the bank. They're the ones who have mastered time sovereignty. They've realized that money is a renewable resource, but time is a burning fuse. Being obsessed with money is like being obsessed with the gas gauge in your car while ignoring the fact that you're driving toward a cliff. It doesn't matter how full the tank is if you never look at the map. You are racing toward an endpoint with a trunk full of gold and no idea where you actually wanted to go. Let's be real. We all need resources to navigate the simulation. Poverty is a cage, and I'm not here to tell you that money doesn't matter. It matters immensely, but there is a point of diminishing returns where the money stops serving you and you start serving the money. When you spend 80 hours a week earning money you don't have time to spend, you've become a processor for a system that doesn't care about your survival. You are sacrificing your peak years to build a retirement you'll be too tired to enjoy. You're trading your now for a maybe that might never come. You have to ask yourself, are you building a life, or are you just accumulating the materials for a life you're too afraid to start? The great distraction is believing that one more deal, one more promotion, or one more zero will finally give you the permission to be happy. Permission isn't a financial milestone. It's a psychological decision. You could decide right now that you have everything you need to be a sovereign individual, but that would mean facing the terrifying truth that your misery isn't a result of a lack of funds. It's a result of a lack of purpose. If you're still running the "I'll be happy when" script, you're stuck in a loop. You're waiting for the simulation to give you a win screen that doesn't exist. The win is realizing that the scoreboard is fake. The win is taking control of your internal architecture and deciding that you are the architect, not the laborer. You have to stop viewing your life through the lens of a quarterly report. You aren't a corporation. You're a biological entity that requires sunlight, connection, and meaning. Money is just the grease for the gears, but you've mistaken the grease for the machine. Stop being a slave to the number. Start looking at the now. Because at the end of the simulation, you don't get to take the coins with you. You only take the memories of the people you actually looked in the eye while you were here. It's time to stop hoarding oxygen and start actually breathing. It's time to realize that the rich life isn't about the balance in your account, but the balance in your mind. If you are wealthy, but still worried about the price of a coffee, you aren't rich. You're just a poor person with a bigger balance. True wealth is the ability to walk away from the table. It's the ability to say no to the tribe's demands because you no longer need their approval or their currency to feel whole. This is the ultimate glitch in the matrix. When you stop caring about the scoreboard, the game loses its power over you. You become the player, not the piece. You can finally start making moves that actually matter, rather than moves that just make the number go up. Hit save on your life today. Not when the market turns. Not when the bonus hits. Not when the mortgage is paid off. Now. Because the now is the only part of the simulation that isn't a projection. Everything else is just data points in a future that hasn't happened yet. Stop living in the maybe and start living in the is. Take a look at your hands. Take a breath. That is your actual wealth. Everything else is just a distraction from the fact that you are already here and you are already enough.